Hello. Today I'm with Ed Durr. Ed is one of the gubernatorial nominees running for the GOP nominee, I should say, in the 2025 race here in New Jersey in the Garden State. Ed, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, John.
Ed, just give us a quick overview. A lot of people probably know you because you made national news a number of years ago. But for those who don't know you, let's get your elevator pitch here. Let's talk a little bit about you.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm you Ed Durr, but won an election that kind of made national headlines when I beat the Senate president of New Jersey. He was the longest serving Senate president, shocked the political establishment, even garnered a personal phone call from President Trump. And when I saw him at Bedminster, he invited me up on the stage with him, and we had a little conversation. So it kind of made a lot of noise. And that's kind of my pitch is who I am. Most people don't, when you say Ed Durr or you say Senator Durr, people are like, I'm not sure I know that guy. But when you say Ed the trucker, oh, I know that guy. So that they remember. And they basically said that I was, I guess a David and Goliath story.
For
So I
sure.
just I
And just
decided to get involved in this.
and and real quick on that David and Goliath story, what was your budget when you ran in that Senate race? Just curious. And how much of was it made up of just donuts alone?
All right. That story, it's gonna live forever, I guess. But here's the thing. So the night I won, the day I won, following night, I was on Fox, and it was the Martha McCallum show, but it was actually Rachel Campus Duffy who was going to interview me. I'm sitting in the chair listening to the earpiece, and I could hear the interview going on before me, and it was Newt Gingrich, and he's the one who started that story, saying that, did you hear about the truck driver who won on $153 of donuts and coffee? I don't know where he got that story because, yes, I spent $153 in the primary because I wasn't challenged in the primary in 21. I spent about $10,000 altogether, half of it being my own money, but that still is a drop in the bucket comparable to most campaigns where the Senate president spent 2.5 million. I was outspent 250 to 1.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that cleared up because that's part of the lore of Ed the Trucker. But
I like it. But I was told before, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
for sure. So let's get into the minutia of this. And we're here to talk about Second Amendment related issues. So first and foremost, are you a gun guy? Let's talk about that.
That is actually a very easy subject for me. Guns are what brought me into politics. I was basically told I would never have my concealed carry when I went and applied for it back in 2017. They said, or it was 2016, 2017, around there. And they said, don't bother. Because, as you know, New Jersey was pretty much a no carry state. It was rare that they would give it to anybody. And the chief, the police department went and called me up and said, look, we're going to do you a favor. Come get your application and tear it up because you're never going to get it. I'm never going to sign off on it. And as you know, if you get turned down, you have to add that to any application you do going forward. So that's what brought me into it. I'm absolutely a gun guy. I support the Second Amendment. I also now have my concealed carry, and I enjoy carrying. For those who are questioning, I carry a Smith and Wesson Shield, so I enjoy that. It's a nice compact gun.
Perfect. So that answered a lot of questions there. So, what do you see being the biggest challenges for New Jersey gun owners like today and going forward? Because there's a lot going on.
Well, the biggest challenge is the legislature. That's the biggest challenge. And they just will not stop. We have a Democrat-controlled legislature who just will not stop with their nonsensical bills that, as you know, do not save lives. Has not saved not one life in all the bills they've written. It's just impeded law-abiding citizens from owning, carrying, and going into certain places because now they have the sensitive areas that you can't carry in. It's just one bill after another. Now they're increasing the fees to own, to carry and to get your carry permit, which I think is ridiculous that you have to renew every 2 years. I think that is insane. So that's probably your biggest obstacle is your legislature
For sure.
because we have to change that.
Okay, so now if you're finding yourself at Drumthwacket, you're in the governor's office, what what do you have that you want to do a path forward to kind of ameliorate that? Like, what are you going to do to help in this plight as governor? And I know there's limitations of what you can and you can't do,
And
but as a
I've been
realist,
looking into that. I've
sure,
been looking into that. First off, I don't want people to think, oh, well, he's just going to be like Governor Murphy. I don't like executive orders. I really think that's the wrong path. But in this instance, I do believe an executive order needs to be instituted from day one to give back the rights of the people. You call it an emergency executive order, whatever you want to do, until we can work the legislature our way, doing, I guess, what you would say is compromise, barter, and trade, but getting back our rights. Because I believe that New Jersey needs to have a stand your ground castle doctrine. We have to get back to common sense of allow people to protect themselves. So
sure.
that's one of the things I would seek to do.
So, what some of those orders might be, just so we can just clarify that, like what kind of
Well,
executive order?
it would be an emergency because of the high crime rate and the car theft and everything that I would make an executive order that it would allow people who have gotten their permits that now they can carry anywhere, not non-governmental buildings.
Sure. Okay. Basically, the
You're
stuff that
not
we're
going
not
into
arguing
you're not going
against.
to go into a courthouse, but you can go into a Walmart, you can go into a ShopRite or whatever, and not have anybody. Now, private homes, as you know, a private citizen could tell you you can't bring a gun into their home, and that's absolutely their right, and nobody should ever overrule that judgment. In a private home, you have the right to say no to anybody coming in, and that's where you start. And along with that, we would suspend these outrageous fees and the relicensing of every 2 years. If you gotten a license, I think that license should be at least 10 years, at least, if not just
Yeah,
automatically lifetime.
for sure. Yeah.
It's
Um,
it's just a money grab. It's just a money grab. That's all it is.
and it's a lot of money too. I mean, for those who are listening in and that don't know, it's $200, $50 to the state and 150 to the municipality or issuing authority. That's a big chunk of change. So we already kind of, I think I know the answer to this, but it's on my list. It's got to be on my list. Is so obviously the SCOTUS ruled in 2022 in favor of liberty, saying that hey, the peasants are allowed to have their pitchforks. New Jersey has to issue permits to carry. Um, what are your thoughts on this? I I,
Well,
I, I already
it's
know it, but go ahead.
well, it's funny. My friend, he went and said to me, he said it's really interesting. You ran on the Second Amendment because you couldn't get your concealed carry. The Supreme Court felt so strongly that you deserved to be there that they gave you the Second Amendment carry ability when they made that ruling in June of 22. And that's where it stands. I love the fact that we had it, but I think it's ridiculous that we have to even have this conversation. I can read the text of the Second Amendment. It's clear to me, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a constitutional scholar or anything, but I can understand exactly what it means, and I understand what commas mean. And people always get hung up with, well, it says well regulated. Well, that's not what well regulated meant in that time. Regulated meant trained. That's what it meant for a militia, not for the everyday citizen. That so there, although I advocate for people who get a second to get their firearms, please train, learn, know your weapon, know how to use it, know what you're capable of, and always be prepared. That way, more training, you get more familiar with it, and because some people will freeze up under certain circumstances. So I would strongly advocate that they should do it, but I wouldn't mandate it. I don't think you can mandate actions like that.
Right.
And that's where I stand.
So we kind of talked a little bit about executive orders and things that you would do in that way. What else would you do as governor to advance the rights? Because there might be some outside of the box things. Are there any other ideas that you have on your board that you're thinking of doing? Or, I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, but
No, no.
I mean, honestly, I think the people, want to hear this kind of stuff.
Well, as I'm sure you looked up my bills. I have had like 20 pieces of legislation that I want to bring back. So I will continue to work with the legislature to, repeal all these foolish laws. I want to have, again, as I said, I want your stand your ground and the castle doctrine. I want to bring back the 30 round magazines. I want to have the ability for everybody to carry when they want to need to carry. I want to stop the foolishness. And that starts with a proper attorney general to stop going after people and going after gun manufacturers and go after criminals. That's what they need to do. Stop chasing away business. We as a state, Governor Murphy told insurance companies, we're not going to do business with you if you deal with gun manufacturers, if you deal with gun stores. This is ridiculous. Stop with the chasing businesses away. We want business here. And if they're gun business, great. I'm okay with that. I want to make it a better place. And we didn't turn into the Wild Wild West when people got the Second Amendment. Actually, if you saw, crime kind of went down. And they don't want to admit the correlation to the fact that a criminal had to now think, hey, I might have to answer for my crime to the citizen if I go and rob this guy or girl. And again, I think women need to be put at the front of the list when they need a protection order if they want to seek a firearm. Because what's the best equalizer between a man and a woman? A firearm.
And I know you've been a strong supporter of empowering women and, from your past involvement and whatnot. And I think that's a great thing. Okay, we're going to change gears a little bit. We only have a couple more questions left. So this next question it has to do with a study that came out. So there was a study that was done by a group called Rise Against Hate, and it's a nonpartisan bias watchdog group in New Jersey. And they found that people who were Black that applied for permits to carry in New Jersey were 10 times more likely to be denied that permit than, say, white folks. And in the study, they looked specifically at the subjective standard of in the interest of public health and safety. So, you know how the law works. That's not a criminal thing. That's based on opinion, on, the police's opinion. One county, Ocean County, was found to have a bias rate of 50 times more that Black applicants are being denied on a subjective standard over white. And as you also know, these are people that already have their firearms ID card. This type of information or story comes across your desk, or you become governor, and now you know this. What are your course of actions in dealing with this situation? Because it seems to be a big one.
Well, if there's any factual basis to it, but I haven't seen the study, and I would like to see what the criteria were where they found this at. I applaud, that this racism has to end. I don't think people need their color, their race, their creed, or their religion, or their sexual identity. It's ridiculous. Everybody, doesn't matter if you're white, Black, Asian, it doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're straight or gay. Doesn't matter if you're old or young, because I also have a problem with the 21 rule. I think if you're an adult at 18, you should be able to have a firearm and a handgun. But again, that's my personal opinion because if you're an adult at 18, everything should be on the board. You can be in the service and have a handgun. So why can't people have a handgun? But yeah, I would definitely root this out because I do not tolerate racism or bias or discrimination. And that goes always.
Sure. Perfect. Okay. Um, as you know, there's many different advocacy groups in New Jersey. Some of them you've met with, some of them you're probably a member of. I don't know for sure. There's members in New Jersey. There are groups across the country. We know that there's big groups. And you also know that there's a lot of litigation going on in the state because, like you said, the legislature just won't stop. They keep pushing these bills, so people are litigating against this. You're in the governor's office. You have an attorney general. Uh, Challenges are coming to laws under your watch. Things like hollow point ban, magazine capacity. You kind of answered some of that already, but I'm going to follow through with the question. What are you going to do about defending these laws if the state is getting sued over
I'm not.
these
I'm not.
unconstitutional? Okay, go ahead.
I'm not going to defend them. I probably will have my attorney general help the people. I'm not going to defend them because I've said, hey, I feel they're unconstitutional, they're wrong, and they shouldn't be there. And I will do everything I can to remove them. I would like to do it through a legal law, passing a law to repeal the law altogether. But if we have to use the Constitution and use the Supreme Court, which I will also make sure that I have an actual constitutionalist sitting on the Supreme Court, which Governor Murphy's kind of pegged the next governor that's not going to have a lot of leeway in that regards for the first couple of years. But hopefully, if I become governor, I get a two-term basis, and I will be able to correct the course of the Supreme Court in New Jersey. But I will not defend these laws because I find them unconstitutional. I will let them fall.
Okay, so you're going to have an AG that's proactive,
Oh yeah,
pro-gun.
my
Okay,
my AG is going to be in line with me as far as the Second Amendment goes. If not, then they're not going to be my AG.
perfect. And one last question about the gun stuff here is reciprocity in New Jersey. I mean, this is something that, from the executive branch, you guys have the power to do this.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about reciprocity? Are we talking about, people from other states that have permits? They're good to go to come into New Jersey. Give me your full thoughts on reciprocity.
Well, let me ask you.
Okay.
Does our First Amendment stop across borders?
Let me check this. It doesn't appear to be. No.
No, no. So why should our Second Amendment?
Right.
No, no. There should be no restrictions in that regard. I want to have full reciprocity, and I hope that the states that we offer it to also will offer it back to us. But it's not going to matter. I'm going to allow anybody with a concealed carry or carry permit to come into our state. If they have a legal permit, fine. I actually not crazy about the whole permit thing, but I can compromise with government. I'm kind of a constitutional carry kind of guy. I actually believe that, but I will accept anybody's permit to come into, and we will not challenge it.
Okay, perfect. Well, Ed, that's actually all of my questions. Is there anything that I left on the table that we didn't discuss that you want to get out there? Because I want to make sure that you get to dot your I's and cross your T's.
I just want to make sure that the viewers know that of the candidates, they can all say what they want to say, but I'm the actual guy who's actually stood up for the Second Amendment. I've went to committees. I've fought it. I've sponsored bills. I've fought it in the committees. I've spoken out against the legislation, and also nobody can match me on the fact that I'm the only guy who's ever gotten an A+ rating and an endorsement from the NRA. The only guy. Some might want to try and say they have, but they haven't. They can't. I'm the only one who's ever done that. And that means a lot to me. So that's what I wanted to make sure that people understood. And I'm here to protect our rights. I'm not to give them away. I just look back to at the very last session and when there was a bill that came up and it was a gun bill and it passed. And I think there was 36 of us in session that day and it passed 35-1. There was one no vote. I was the no vote. And all my fellow Republican senators looked at me and they were like, "You're a gun guy. Why'd you vote against that? That's allowing." It was a hunting bill that allowed individuals to carry a gun. But if you dove into the bill and read it, there were restrictions built into it. There were little hidden caveats that gave the Democrats an ability to tell you what you can carry, where you can carry it, and it just had too many, things that would have came up later, and I could see it. And plus, it's always a dead giveaway. If the Democrats are for it, it's going to be a bad bill.
Unfortunately, They've decided to make this a partisan issue, but that's not my problem. Well, it is. It's our problem for sure. But as far as their conscience goes, not my problem, right? So,
Well, and that's why I it press so much because it's unfortunate, but there's probably about 30% of us gun owners who don't register to vote and don't vote at all. We could change things in an instant. Governor Murphy got elected with 1.2 million and 1.3 million. There is at least 1.6 million gun owners in this state alone. We could win the election every time just by banding together and making sure. We should win legislature seats and change the laws. But they seem to be afraid to register to vote and get involved. I want to implore upon gun owners to please get involved. Vote. We shouldn't need to go through courts. We should go through and change the laws back to the way it should be. That's what I want to see people do.
well, Ed, I definitely appreciate your time. Throw out your pitch there. Where can people find you? What is your website? What are your socials? How can people support you? How can they reach out? Give me your full shtick.
All right. My website is edthetrucker.com. Very simple. Edthetrucker.com. And all my socials are on there, but I'm you can find me as Ed the Trucker NJ on Twitter, X file, and I think it's Ed.Durr9 or something like that on Instagram. But all my socials are on my website. It's edthetrucker.com. Uh, Basically, I'm just asking for help to support me because I'm in a fight with these gentlemen and they're the establishment. I'm the only grassroots guy. I won on the grassroots before. It's all volunteer power. It's a low shoestring budget, and we're just going to keep pressing forward. We're making our way around, and I'm happy to talk to any group, any club, anybody's podcast. I will go and speak to anybody and advocate my position that I want to bring the power back to the people. People will mistake the fact that government is in charge and they're not. We, the people, decided to make government. We, the people, are the ones in the power and we have to take it back. We have to stop just allowing government to run over us. They are not our rulers. They are our subjects. Again, when I go around, I say to people, I'm here as a job interview. You are the employer. I'm asking for you to hire me. This is an interview for an applicant of a job. You have to decide who is the best person, but they have to be answerable to you. You are the employer. And that's what I strive all the time. But as far as helping me out, I'm the only guy who's offering to give you something for your money. For a donation, you can get a copy of my book, $47 or more. Go to my website and you can get a copy of my book. So at least when you make a donation, you get something for your donation. So that's my pitch.
That's perfect, Ed. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and good luck in the race. Hope to see you out there a little bit more.
Well, I hope the next interview will be Governor Durr.
Well, and if that's the case, I'm looking forward to that too, Ed.
All right, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you.